Scott Pilgrim is an asshole. Selfish, sarcastic, absent-minded, the kind of guy you wouldn't trust holding onto your bag, afraid he'll drop it at the sight of an edgy, hot topic employee with dyed hair. Yet, through all those traits, all the lying, misleading, mistrust, and even cheating, he's a likable guy. One that makes more than constant mistakes, but a likable guy nonetheless. A slacker with a heart. The dude fucking dated a teen. Pilgrim vs. the World is a story for anyone. As a kid and as a teen, I viewed it as a really great, fun action-adventure story with love and romance about characters living in a city I kinda didn't like. Fuck Toronto. I kinda like it now, though. Re-experiencing this story as a dumb little 20-something who has little actual life experience, I can more accurately understand what the story is actually about. Whether you've seen the amazing movie adaptation by the very fuckable Edgar Wright, or you're an intellectual who read the comic, you can find something to enjoy and ground yourself in. And today I'm gonna dig into the themes and character arcs of the titular freak and his girlfriend who ruined an entire generation of women, to show you why that isn't true and how these characters aren't just terrible people, but complex characters with massive, unkempt issues. Starting with Scott. Toronto, Canada is a land of love, and for one 20-something-year-old white boy, love is more of a battle than most. Scott Pilgrim gets himself in the most convoluted scenarios after his big breakup from his college girlfriend, Envy. He mopes around for about a year, just living through the motions, until he meets this poor Asian schoolgirl named Knives and begins to date her. This is more of a distraction than anything for Scott, using Knives as an escape from his average mundane life. They talk about high school drama, almost holding hands, the whole shebang, and as an onlooker, you see the relationship for what it is. Nothing serious. But as we know, Knives falls madly in love with Scott because it's her first relationship and he is cute and funny and is in a band. No matter how sucky they are, we don't really get to see into the true nature of Scott Pilgrim until he meets Ramona and falls head over heels. Whenever love is unlocked in this stupid motherfucker's mind, he can't focus on anything else, dropping all responsibility, which he has none, any sense of pride, which he has none, and does everything he can to further the relationship, even if he's still dating his fake high school girlfriend. As his hilarious yet snide roommate Wallace puts it, Scott deflects almost all of the warnings his friends give him about two-timing. Kim, Steven Stills, even his sister, all telling his stupid ass to stop his shitty actions. But Scott is a man who refuses to accept his past mistakes, and when he meets Ramona, he's a guy without responsibility, without goals, who doesn't realize that his actions have consequences and that his inner love isn't all that matters. We see this time and time again. When Scott likes Kim in high school, nothing else matters. He'll beat up an entire fucking school and a poor Asian boy just to be with her. When Scott likes Nat and dates her through college, no matter how much his partner changes, he still prioritizes her over everything. Or at least that's what he deludes himself to think. Scott puts everything into these relationships because he wants to feel needed and liked. And without one, he only strives for complacency without change. Becoming an adult takes time, and during your 20s, everyone with that aim makes many decisions. Going to school, finding jobs, creating art, but for some, the pursuit of laziness is all you need, until you realize you have to do something with your life and stop being a lazy piece of shit. Scott lives his life like a college student who doesn't go to class, which is a lot of college students, you know, the typical lazy, bare-bones sort of lifestyle, chuffing on ramen noodles and bumming the fuck out, sharing a bed with a gay man and sometimes gay men, without a job, until he meets Ramona. This flurry of love and passion fuels him to better himself, no matter how terribly he begins the relationship, literally cheating on his fake high school girlfriend. Even if it was morally wrong, rushing into this new thing with Ramona gave Scott something to work for, to be a better person for, to grow with, the missing piece to Scott's puzzle. But like most puzzles, it takes a long fucking time to figure it out. That's why most people don't do them. Puzzles fucking suck. But everyone's gotta conquer them at some point, and Scott takes a while to piece part of the puzzle and doesn't really get it together until Volume 4, which is literally titled that. Throughout the first 3 volumes, Cheater Pilgrim develops a great relationship with Ramona, in a honeymoon phase of sorts which lasts a long time. This is where the comic and movie differ completely in the lapse of time in which they take place. He finds a job through his buddy Steven Stills, and it helps him cope and feel needed, following Ramona pleading to him in a dream to literally get a job, which directly actions this change in his life. Since Ramona is always the thing on his mind, her word means more to him than anyone else's. Having that supportive partner is what makes Scott's semi-schizophrenic brain tick. But through these tough parts, you can learn different aspects of yourself. Scott learns that he can commit to work and actively tries to change that part of his lazy personality that most people have, unless they're like Mr. Beast or something, who pump out the craziest shit imaginable, and I'm here sitting on my ass reacting to cartoons. Subscribe to Spilling the Milk. Scotty P, along with me, struggle to find our way through. Even if Scott finds a job, life isn't that simple. He still has to maintain his relationship, band, social life, career, and obviously Ramona's 7 evil exes, which are the main crux of the story. Facing even his own past in Volume 4 in the form of Knives' psycho-Chinese father and Ramona's psycho ex-girlfriend Roxy, who he punches in the boob, which is pretty cool to note. That was kind of cool. Shout out Mae Whitman. Which just shows this perpetual looming figure on the relationship. Both their baggage come in literal form to show how much Scott is willing to sacrifice and deal with to be with Ramona. And apparently that's a lot. Like, the dude fucking punches a chick in the tit. Like that's pretty hardcore. With that sacrifice in mind, we see Scott's looming past mistakes coming after him. As I stated before, Scott lies to himself. He deludes his own memory and his past to make it in his favor, to resist changing, ignoring his mistakes when that makes him doomed to repeat them. This leads directly into his contrast with Ramona and how Ramona is a special girl with special powers named Ramona Flowers. She's hot, dyes her hair without a care. Don't you dare try to date her or her 7 evil exes will chop your hair. And Scott doesn't remember his last haircut very fondly. Ramona, much like Scott, tries her very best to ignore her past, but attempts it in a starkly different fashion. It's almost like they're different people! Ramona is afraid of herself. She feels like an inherent evil to people, and this self-destructive attitude and idea destroys every relationship she's in, breaking up with almost every guy she's dated, afraid of coming to terms with who she was in the past. This perpetual cycle is extremely detrimental to her mental health, and only gets worse as time moves forward and she tries to ignore it. So in Volume 6, when everything is coming to a head with Scott's fight with her exes, she gets overwhelmed and disappears. She runs yet again from herself, afraid of stability with Scott. She's afraid of staying the same because she hates the person she is and was. This is the attitude which brought on the evil exes in the first place. Well, most of the exes feel like this, but Gideon is just an obsessive freak. But a majority of the other exes just wanted some closure. That feeling of resentment can develop into a plethora of different emotions, leading people down a path until they become a fucking supervillain who dance with big titty goth bitches, I guess. I don't fucking know. This fragmented ending of a relationship can give people the sense of longing and gets them into wrongful emotional states. Ramona is deeply aware of this, of her past actions. She's dabbled in being a bitch, but through that self-awareness, she takes the easier but worse approach. She suppresses those ideas, tries to run away from her past, not confronting herself and taking steps to be a better person, but just runs. Not just from a location, not just from her relationships and friendships, but from emotional maturity. What makes these characters relatable is their imperfections. Ramona's fear of stasis is her Achilles heel. That's why she's constantly changing her hair color, why she disappears without a trace, and puts up her mysterious barriers. She's a bad bitch with a lot of baggage, man. Like, I don't know what else to say. And Scott is in a different but eerily similar boat, prone to attaching himself to others, embracing comfortability, ignoring the past, and in turn bound to make the same mistakes. 2 sides of the same coin. But in the final volume, these two have to fully come to terms with themselves and their problems. When Ramona runs away from Scott after a big fight, Scott falls into depression, becomes a hollow shell, stuck inside, trying to recapture the comfort that video games provided him as a stupid teenager who was brain dead. As his friends and family try to cheer him up, Wallace tells Scott that he needs to get laid to keep his mind off Ramona. And you know, Wallace, she's kinda right. But Scott instantly refutes this at first, but soon gets tired of staying inside all day and decides to go with his friends. During this time, he faces his 3 past exes and tries to find solace through casual sex, but is met with Knives, envy, and most dramatically Kim rejecting his dumb fucking ass. This idiot is told off by Knives telling him she's moved on. Envy tells him she's changed, and Kim tells Scott to get real. It's through these encounters we see the true nature of how his relationships actually ended, because up until this point, Scott deluded himself and took all fault of himself off from these breakups with Kim and Envy, even though he played a bigger part in them than he wants to admit. His breakup with Kim being especially apparent, totally changing part of a memory to think he was mindful, and the breakup was inevitable. But this flashback scene that is brought up a couple times throughout the story was through an unreliable narrator. This flashback scene of him telling Kim that he was moving to Toronto, but in actuality, Kim was never there. It was Lisa, their friend, and Kim didn't find out until Lisa told her and then confronted Scott the day he was moving. Reminding Scott of this truth bring all the emotions and regret and angst back to him, faced to confront himself and his negative side. Nega Scott. Can I say that? He fights this guy on this mountaintop near London, Ontario in an extremely cathartic and heart-wrenching scene until he realizes he's fighting himself. Scott has not only been hurting others with his repeated terrible behavior, but his stupid ass also. And through the help of Kim, he accepts his other half. He accepts himself and realizes what he has to do and goes to fight for the one he loves. He has to defeat Gideon! Or at least that's what he thinks at first, but through the process of getting to Gideon and fighting Gideon and getting fucking murdered by Gideon, he sees that blindly fighting for Ramona isn't the mature thing to do, because she fucked up too, Scott. She left you. Seeing Ramona in the dream world when Scott's dead, he's met with extreme happiness and confusion, obviously, because he kinda got stabbed through the heart. She apologizes and he's filled with regret, but Scott is quick to dismiss this and make out, be a couple again, acting like everything is fine. Dude, she left you, man. Like, have some self-respect. Ramona resists this, saying she doesn't deserve him. She meditates on her own mistakes, admitting her faults to Scott. This back and forth is all they needed. These two love-struck idiots have made so many mistakes by themselves and are just afraid to open up and ask for help. By directly bringing up their mistakes in their current relationship and acknowledging where they went wrong is when they can move forward. He then finds his one-up he gained in Volume 3 and is welcomed a second chance against the Glasses Freak, this time accompanied by Ramona, ready to take this loser down for themselves. This time, these two assholes have acknowledged they're shitty and have to join forces to take down an even shittier motherfucker. Ramona has to move on, gives Gideon that closure by entering her bag and beating the ever-loving shit out of Gideon with Scott, defeating the guy once and for all, and in the process figuring out who they need to be, what they were, by reflecting on their past. Bryan Lee O Malley, through his personal experiences of living in Toronto in his early 20s, brings us this amazing grounded story of a dude struggling to get by, unsure of himself, of what to do. This core element is what defines Scott Pilgrim. This coming-of-age adult story about growing up, reflecting and moving on. Even if people misjudge and mischaracterize Scott Pilgrim to its bare bones elements, Scott Pilgrim is a golden retriever boyfriend and has a goth woman GF, and they're terrible, irredeemable pieces of shit. Even if the hot goth woman telling you this is attractive, that doesn't mean what they're saying is true, and that there isn't depth to find within these pages. That relating to some aspect of these very human-like characters is some sort of sin. We all make mistakes. We all learn from our mistakes. That's how we grow and become adults. These past actions we make, no matter how sinister or devious, don't define you. Maybe if you're like a serial killer, then yeah, you deserve to rot in fucking hell. But for most common people, there's a reason this story is so popular. It resonated with the early teenage to early 20-something group of absolute dumbasses making the same mistakes as the lovable idiots do in Scott Pilgrim. And Scott Pilgrim isn't about love. It isn't about awesome choreographed fight scenes that are way too good looking, or hilarious moments that bring you to fucking tears. It's about cherishing all of that, embracing self-awareness and yourself to become the best person you can be. And as a 20-something dumbass myself, seemingly always making stupid fucking mistakes. It helps to feel that I'm not alone, because Scott Pilgrim might be an asshole, but that doesn't mean he always has to be.